Hey everyone, it's Brad at Hope to Prosper, and I'm here at Moonstone Beach in San Simeon with my wife and Millie, and we're just coming home from the Redwoods, and just, man, it's beautiful here. Unbelievable. Perfect day at the beach. Okay, thanks for coming along. I'll talk to you in a minute. Today I want to talk about having the permission to spend. And I'm not talking about spending recklessly and endangering your retirement. I'm talking about spending more money wisely in the early years of your retirement so you won't have regret or go bankrupt when you're old. And I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm going to give you 3 practical tips to this age-old problem and to help you spend more confidently. So if you're newly retired or retiring, you need to change from spender to saver, and here's how to do it. Okay, let's dig in and get started. First, I want to talk about how to spend more. David in Progress has a great little idea called a fun budget, and he creates a budget within his budget just for fun, just for travel, in his case mountain e-bikes, and so he has put into his budget a fun budget. I think it's a fantastic idea. Highly recommend it. What I did instead was I had a regular budget and then I overspent it. So I had a fun budget, but it was painful. Second, I want to talk about one of my favorite things, enjoying the latte. You know, there's a book called Automatic Millionaire by David Bach, and they tell you, don't buy lattes, save that money instead. And, I did that for 40 years, and now it's my time to enjoy the latte. And what I've found is, instead of spending $3 for coffee, you spend $5 for latte, and you're really not out that much money. Another good idea is to invest in experiences instead of stuff. My wife and I were talking about buying a van, and then what we realized is we could probably buy a new pickup truck or a used pickup truck for $20,000 instead of spending $80,000 on a van, and then we could have that $60,000 for other things, travel, hotels, things of that sort, cruises. And the last thing on spending more I want to talk about is time bucketing your life. There's a book called Die with Zero. Most of you are familiar with it. And one of the great concepts I think in there, in fact, my favorite concept from the book, is to time bucket your life. So you take your bucket list, you put the things that you need to do first in the front of the list, things that are strenuous and things of that sort. So in my case, it's going to be hiking the 6-pack of peaks. But, when you're 80, you're not going to be jumping planes and trains and automobiles and hiking across Europe. You're probably going to be doing cruises and things that are more senior friendly. So time bucket your life so you spend more early on and enjoy things that will later be unavailable for you, not an option. So let's get into it. Tip 1, you may need less than you think. In fact, you may need a lot less than you think. The way financial planning works, they act like, your income's going to go up 3% a year, and that's why you need $1 million so that you can you spend $75,000 now and it goes up 3% a year. And that sounds great, but the truth is that there's the thing called the spending smile. You're going to spend most of your money earlier in your retirement, and then it's going to go down and down and down. And so by not using the traditional 3% increase every year, you could probably either A, retire on a lot less money than you think, or B, spend more money than you think earlier in your retirement. And according to BlackRock, most retirees, they're still going to have 80% of their savings after 20 years. And it's not only BlackRock, a lot of different surveys show the same thing. And so, most retirees will be in pretty good shape in 20 years, and they'll have held on to their money because they're smart. So that brings us down to tip number 2. Don't draw down. Don't draw down your portfolio. Somebody asked me that, how do you plan to draw down your portfolio? And I don't. I plan to keep my assets growing for a number of reasons, which I'll tell you right now. First of all, when you're drawing down your portfolio, say you're going to do the die with zero thing, right? And you're thinking at 90 years old, you're going to be like close to zero. Well, what if you live to 95 or 100? Or what if the stock market crashes or you get sick? So drawing down your portfolio is kind of like landing one of Elon Musk's rockets on a barge. Right? If anything goes wrong, it blows up and you crash and burn. But by growing your portfolio or continuing to grow your portfolio, you just deleverage a lot of risk. and you cushion for market volatility, or say your roof blows off your house, or something happens, you have a lot more cushion. So in my opinion, my plan, my goal is to average 10% in the market and then take 5%. And right now I'm taking 6 because the market's way up. So my assets are growing. So don't draw down your assets. Don't draw down your portfolio unless you have to, in my opinion. Tip number 3, percentage of portfolio. There are a lot of ways. There are a lot of withdrawal rules, right? Like the 4% rule is the real popular one. There's also guidance, guardrails, and a number of others. I think the 4% rule could be a poverty trap. For 99% of the people or 95% of the people, they're going to be spending way less than you should be spending to enjoy their retirement so that they don't run out of money. And I think there are better ways to do it. And what I use is called percentage of portfolio. It's super simple. I take 5% of my percentage of my portfolio, and then I don't jack it up every 3% every year for inflation. If my portfolio goes up, I get more. If my portfolio goes down, I get less. That's why some planners don't like it, but I love it because that cushions against, it avoids the sequence of return risks, and it allows me to be dynamic instead of static, and I could stay flexible. And yes, I might have to live on less, which I could do, but I say use percentage of portfolio instead of the 4% rule or the guardrails or some of the other rules that are tricky and complex. It's just simple. It works. If your portfolio goes down, you take a pay cut. If your portfolio goes up, you get a raise. So that's how that works. So that's my biggest tip for you is use percentage of portfolio instead of something like the 4% rule. Okay, so let's wrap it up. The bottom line is that the early years of your retirement, man, they're going to go fast, and you can't afford to let them slip by without enjoying them. So there's going to be plenty of time later in your retirement to watch TV and read magazines. If you're young, if you're in your 60s, you kind of need to go for it. So give yourself the permission to spend more earlier in your retirement, and you'll thank your future self later in your life. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for coming by this week. Thanks for following my channel. I hope you enjoyed the beautiful footage of Moonstone Beach in Cambria, California. And I wish you all health, happiness, and prosperity in your lives. And I will see you next week on our next big adventure. Our next big adventure is going to be camping at San Alejo State Beach. And then I'm headed off to Alaska to visit Denali and go fishing in Homer.